How are you?
Can you hear me?
I'm good. Yeah, I can hear you.
Doing
How
good.
about?
How about you?
Oh man, if I have a I have a
Yeah.
client of mine. Says, if I'm any better, there'd be two of me. So that's kind of how I feel right now.
Dude, I'm loving the man bun.
It's there. Yeah, growing on me a little.
I love it. I love it, man. I'm excited to chat today, especially because you said we have a good controversial topic. So I'm pumped to hear what it is and see what it's all about.
If we're not ruffling feathers, we're not doing it right, right?
Exactly, man. Exactly. So what's been going on where you had this topic, you had this idea of a topic of like it's gonna be controversial. You're like, I'm excited to talk about it. Hopefully, you're ready to ramp it up too. So, what are we jamming on today?
No, I mean, like I said in our message back and forth a little bit, it might have been overhyped a little bit about controversial. I don't know that it's controversial as much as it's kind of the hard truth that people just
Okay.
don't really want to. They don't want to acknowledge like that the fact that like the blocking and tackling is what wins games, right? It's the
Hmm.
special teams just being on point. It's not the fancy plays. It's not the just the super performances here and there. It's just like consistency in a few key areas, time after time after time, just sort of doing the boring work over and over again. And yeah, like mixing in some cool new stuff. I mean, obviously, we're clients of you guys. We've been through tons of platforms, tons of lead generation opportunities, tons of different business models, team models, just so much of it, experimentation throughout the years that, I mean, 15 years of this, man, like at a certain point, you realize there's only a few things that you really need to do, and you need to do them over and over and over again. And if you're not bored with it, then you're probably not doing it right. Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
just some of that, right? And like I think that's what makes it a little controversial in today's um
Is
the
because
market we
people
live in.
chase that shiny object, maybe per se, and like there could be one company that positions it this way and the other that positions it this way. But when you lift up under the hood, it's all very similar sometimes. So you end up jumping from thing to thing and service to service and platform to platform. Is that kind of where you're going with it? Like
100%. Like I think, and I will be the first one to say right here for everybody, dude, I have done that. I have been on every platform you can think of, you name it. In 2009, early 2009, we started on Boomtown when that was like there was Tiger Leads and Boomtown. Like those all these different platforms didn't exist back then, and I've experimented with every one I can find, and I keep coming back to the same things. It's like, yes, these things are an element. They're a tool in a tool belt to be utilized at proper times in proper ways, but they're not the basic like foundation that you build your house on, that you build your business on. They're the fancy finishes, right? It's like this is the really super exotic hardwood floors. This is the really nice countertops. This is the high end appliances. These are the really killer features that you add on top of a solid foundation that I honestly feel like probably 90+% of agents, teams, brokerages, et cetera today, they're trying to put all those things in their house before they have a foundation. They have a foundation that is just crumbling around them. It is not solid. And the more and more of these things they add on to it, the weaker and weaker the foundation gets, to a point where it's like at some point, if you haven't really, really set that up and worked on it, then what's the point of doing these other things? You're almost wasting time and money trying to put in all these fancy finishes.
yeah,
Whereas,
let's
like,
get
you
give me
haven't
some
done that.
examples here of things that you've done because you immediately made me think of like, for instance, with what we offer. We offer lead generation and branding campaigns, kind of like multi-channel marketing, where you can,
Mhm.
have traffic coming in from Google, you have remarketing on Facebook, you have this multi-channel approach. But if you don't have and you're doing lead generation and you don't have a sales process behind the like scenes of like
Mhm.
you're generating leads and no one's calling the leads, there's no action plan set up, like none of that, you're not going to see success, right? Well, you're going to need a website platform, a CRM. You do need tools, but you also need to set up tools and processes for your team that they can adapt to and get used to, and then don't just flip it on their head when you see a new shiny object at a conference, right? Like, so what are some examples, like detailed examples that you could give, like where you see this happen in the business?
Well, what you nailed it. And I think most people are just afraid of doing the hard work, and they want to jump into the shiny, flashy stuff that they see other super successful teams. Here's the controversial part. Super successful teams, they don't know what's going on. They see the Instagram highlight reel version of these teams. Very, very few big teams, big brokerages, big high top producers are truly killing it. I know a few, and like we have some very honest conversations, but realistically, it's like, who's going to put out their worst foot forward? Who's going to show all the hardships? Who's going to show the fact they didn't make any money over the last quarter because their overhead's so high? Like, yeah, you got $400 million in sales and you have a GCI of $2.5 million a year, but you spent 2.3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, about you, but that's a little different. Like I'm more interested in the profitability and the bottom line for the amount of risk exposure that I have, for how I sleep well at night. Like, right. So it's like, when you look at these teams and you're doing these flashy things, that's the part that I feel like makes it controversial, because like that's what people want to focus on. And so these foundations that you're talking about, it's like, dude, like you have to build the processes and the systems before you need them. And if you don't, then you are constant. It's like, so I have an analogy I've used with our team a lot, which is like you're putting the boat out in the water with holes in it, nobody to row it, nobody to patch the holes, no tools, no equipment. Like, you're getting out there and your boat's filling with water because you're overwhelmed and you don't have the system and processes. You didn't have the checklist. You didn't have the solid foundation of your boat itself to know that you were going. You have no navigational tools. So you're just out there paddling away. Like, this whole idea of just the grind. Oh, the grind is so freaking awesome. No, it's not. That's the part that sucks. And like, if you like the grind, you're probably a little weird, to be honest with you, because I don't know very many people who are like, I want to grind my whole life. No, there's got to be like something rewarding out of it at the end.
I think the goal is to grind to where eventually it becomes delegated and passed off, and then eventually you're like, okay, I get a little bit less stress. I got a team, I got help, I have people helping me. But then
Some
some people
leverage,
take
yeah.
that help and flip that entire process on its head because they saw something else, and now it's like, man, you just threw a wrench in your entire cog in your machine, and
Right. Yeah. And so I think some people need to like honestly take a true look at their boat. Let's keep that analogy. Take a look at their boat, paddle the thing back to shore, to the dock, figure out what holes you need to plug. Those are your systems, those are your processes, those are your tools, those are your people, those are your marketing plans. Those are just your basic fundamentals of what makes this boat actually float out in the water. All right, at that point, when you come back, and those are things like, all right, so what is your system for when let's forget leads. Like, you guys do leads, you guys are good at this, you know how to help people with that. Let's forget lead. Like, what's your system for when you take a listing? When somebody actually picks up the phone and reaches out to you, message, Facebook message, text message, phone call, doesn't matter, email, see them in person, and they say, hey, I want to talk to you about selling my house. What's your process? Is that documented? Are you winging it every single time, or do you have a process? That process should be pretty thorough. That's our longest, deepest process on anything, is the listing process. And we focused for years when we started our team to build that process to where it was basically ironclad. We don't miss things. We have a repeatable process. We're able to deliver a standard of practice that has become our brand. That is where we're really known for. That has then allowed us to generate other opportunities through the listings that we just take full advantage of, to then actually get buyers out of, get new listings out of. And it's like, if you miss the whole process and you can't deliver time and time and time again, and you're constantly winging it, and sometimes you deliver that super phenomenal experience, and other times your clients are like, they feel like they got blinders on and they're just wandering around, and they're asked, like, if your clients are asking you questions before you're answering them, I feel like you're missing the boat. You're doing things wrong. Like, that is one of my pet peeves, is if our clients start asking, like of course they're going to ask some questions, but if they're asking every single question every single time before we tell them, then we're not doing a good job of actually leading them through this entire process. And that's the part where I feel like that's a super boring thing. It doesn't seem uh, like the sexy thing to do. It's not like winning you awards. It's not like sales volume things. It's not like I did 600 units. I didn't. Yeah, it's boring. It's tweaking emails after you've used them 4, 5, 6 times and realize that they're not hitting the boat. It's, hey, do we need to put another check item in the checklist to make sure that we create something? When somebody's showing our listing, do we have all the information available for that agent who's going to write an offer on our listing to make it as easy as possible for them to get all the information so that they want to show our listings in the future? They write us good offers that saves us time. Like, those are super boring things that people aren't working through because they're like, oh, this new home lead thing just got me like 17 people in contact. Well, those 17 people were sent out to 12 other people on 12 other things at the same time. So it's like, okay, so I get that that's like a part of it, but how do you control your own house first? How do you set that foundation up to where you can then capitalize on? So there's one example of like a basics. Another example of the basics. All right, let's say you take the listing. You have a great example, or you have a great process for taking the listing, for onboarding it. You have good administrative help. They're like, listing coordinator or transaction coordinator. Somehow it's helping you behind the scenes. So you focus on the important stuff. You're nailing all those things. What's next? All right, now is it time to jump out on the water and figure out how fast you can row towards the other? I don't think so at that point. It's like, all right, so are you going to go buy leads at that point? Or are you going to try to make sure you're maximizing all the lead opportunities through the leverage of that listing itself first? Because if you go buy the leads, you just completely wasted a free lead source that could build you to the next tier of your business. So it's like these layers of tiers. And it's like most people, so I'm a huge Clemson fan. Dabo Sweeney is one of my favorite people on the planet. And in a podcast that he had, he said that like somebody asked him he was getting on the elevator in a hotel room, and some grad assistant like working on a football team came to him and was like, hey, give me the 60-second spiel of what it takes to be the most successful ever. And he's like, first of all, that doesn't exist. Like, I can't do that. But he's like, the one thing I did tell him and took this away was, I'm about to get on this elevator and I'm going to ride it to the top floor. You've never even took the stairs and you want to know how to get on this elevator first. You don't even know how to take the stairs. I've took the stairs so many times throughout my life, up and down and backwards. It's tiresome. It is the grind. It's the grueling part. But I've done that so many times that now I understand what it's like to take the stairs. And I'm so appreciative and make the most of taking this elevator and swiping this card. And everybody is just like, I'm a year in, or 6 months in, or I'm 4 years in, whatever. I don't have, like, I've never taken the stairs enough to make it. Like, I've done it once. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. So let me just fast track all those lessons you learn and all that time you take on the stairs. Yep. Let me jump straight to the key card to ride the elevator and swipe it to go to the penthouse. And it's like, yeah,
that's something that's something I couldn't be more grateful for, is the fact that when I started this venture with my 2 other partners, like we had to delegate the book. We had to grind. We did everything. Like I went from a situation where I was an employee and I had a role to then coming in and it's like, oh shit, I'm the finance department. We're the accounting department. We're the marketing, sales. We're onboarding. We're support. We're everything. And that was definitely like a life shock to be able to see that. But then what I'm so grateful for is the ability to dive in and learn all of those aspects of business, to where like I had to put my best foot forward and learn, like, okay, I am good at the finance. I am good at actually building systems and processes and automating them. Like, I didn't know I was good at that because I never had been thrown to the fire to figure it out. And so I took the stairs and I walked up the stairs and many times, and I've learned so many different things that now I can train and I can teach other people those things. And I'm grateful for that, because then they get to learn the only way I know it, but then they have different perspectives on it, right? And so now my teammates and my employees, they have this different perspective that I didn't have, and I may have helped them with a foundation, but they are the ones evolving it and making it even better than I could have ever done solely, or me, Tyler, and Corey could have ever done with just us 2 or us 3. So like taking the stairs,
and occasionally I think you need to step back and Sorry, there was a little delay there. I wasn't trying to talk over you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you were saying occasionally step back.
I was just saying, occasionally you have to step back and take the stairs again yourself a few times because you sort of forget what it's like to take the stairs. Like you don't need to live on the
Oh, dude,
stairs, but you better go
Jared
take
just
those
went on
stairs again.
vacation.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
good stair moment, right? Like, oh crap,
Jared just went on
what's he doing?
vacation, and I'm like, oh shit, what? I ain't been back on these stairs in a minute, and so you jump in and you're a little rusty, and then you're like, dang, like, all right, I got this, and you pick it back up, and you realize like you're like grateful for help and grateful for the teammates and just where we've gotten to. So I mean, taking the stairs is what allows you to appreciate those things if you ever get the opportunity to get on the elevator.
Right. And that's what I like. That's my goal with our team, with myself, is once you learn how to take the stairs, once you learn how to take 2 stairs at a time, if you figure out you can do that, are you going to try to take 3 or 4 at a time? Because that's unsustainable. That's hard to do. So like you learn your limitations with what skills and gifts you have. It's a really weird analogy in that way, but if you got super, super long legs and you can take 3 stairs at a time and you're more efficient, do it. Those are skill sets and characteristics and things that certain agents have that others don't. If you're like me and you're short and stocky and you got little legs, 2 might be a stretch at a time before you get burnt out. And like if you're trying to take 2 4 steps at a time and you can only sustain 2 flights, what would have happened if you would have took the 1 stair at a time over and over, a little slower pace? You catch the guy that's doing 2 to 4 at a time because he's tired and he's burnt out and he's catching his breath, and you go zooming by him because you're sustainable.
It makes me think of Jerome Bettis.
Thing.
You know Jerome Bettis?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the bus, dude. Have you ever watched him run, dude? It was just like the legs are like this. Then you got other running backs that really run like this.
But he just pounded into people over and over. And eventually, because he could sustain it and they couldn't, he would open his holes, he would run over people, and that's where he got his yards. The 2-3 yards at a time where he's running head first into somebody and just getting stuck at the line. Yeah, it sucks. But that's kind of like the idea of taking the stairs. Eventually you wear it down, you get really good at it, you see your holes, you're patient, and you take the right ones, and you got a 25-yard run, or you got a touchdown. Like, there's so much to it.
So that's what you're seeing. You feel like you're seeing a lot, right? Is a lot of agents who are starting to like not take the stairs and just expect to get on the elevator, and so they're not willing to put in
a touchdown
the harder
on the first handle, on the first time they ever touch the ball in the industry, or their first game, or their rookie season. They're expecting to be superstars. And I'm not saying you can't get there quick, and there aren't lessons to be learned. I'm a learner. I enjoy that. But at the same time, part of learning is understanding that, like, you have to take your reps.
Do you think social media has a problem with that? Like, you kind of brought that up a little bit. Like, do you think it's this comparison game of, oh, this person's doing this doing this, so I have to do this, and like, or what do you think in terms of, do you believe social media has an effect on it?
General. I think it's ego in general, and I think the ego is driven even more in the wrong direction through social media. I personally despise social media. It's like a love-hate relationship, right? Like, used to be like love-hate with Zillow, and it was love-hate. Social media is that love-hate relationship for me. There's tons of attention there. That's where the people are. But in general, like, to me, it also breeds this keeping up with the Joneses, like competing for attention, instead of sort of like just figuring out what you want out of your life and how you want to live your life. And I learned that for myself a couple of years ago, and it changed the whole way I use social media. We still use social media. We have you guys helping us use social media. We have you helping us generate leads. But it was because I stepped back for a while and finally figured out I needed to get a lot of my own ship in order, my own house in order, before I can go upgrading things, right? Like, It's very easy to be like, hey, I need a new bathroom, need a new kitchen, but yet your foundation's got termites. I'm sorry, go take care of the termites first, because otherwise it's still a problem. And it doesn't matter how fancy your kitchen is when your floor starts sinking in. And then you have to always, like, you step back, and that's an overwhelming problem to go handle after you've sunk all your money into a new kitchen, new bathroom, and all this fancy crap. And you got to go rebuild a floor system that you could have took care of first. Like,
a lot of people do that, man.
The social media thing to me drives that more and more. Is it drives people to want to work on the fancy stuff, to want to show how many homes they've sold and how much volume they've got, and how fancy their marketing it is, and all these great videos they're doing. They're like professional YouTube real estate stars, but their clients aren't even writing them reviews. Like, they're missing that piece, like, it's a super easy thing you could collect on almost any and every, but they didn't work on that. They have a system or a process for that. They're not leveraging that first, which is almost free, before they jump into the spending $2,000 a month to generate some Facebook leads. Like, I get it. You want to get to there. And that's like, you should, in my opinion, explore those opportunities for you. But there is a whole group. I don't know if anybody knows Ninja Selling. There's a whole group of people that don't buy leads, like sphere-based repeat business. It's referrals based. Like, we have that as a core foundation of like our business first, and then we add the others on top of it. Now,
Yeah.
can you go opposite and just start, like, if you've got a war chest, you come in with some money and you're entering the business, or you've built up a little war chest that you can spend on for a true advertising plan. You're brand new to the business, you're 2 years in the business, and you got some money backing. Maybe you came into the business from another career and you got $200,000 in the bank, and you can spend $50,000 over your first year. Can you go out and work some of those leads to add people into your business quickly? But you also worked on the systems and processes at the same time, and you didn't let that lag. Like, yes, then you can fast track your success. And I think that those people have the ability to. Just sort of have to ask your question: do I have more time than money? Or do I have more money than time? Or am I in about the same boat? And how am I sort of best leveraged with the systems and foundation to support that to where I can actually grow? And like you said, I think social media is, everybody's posting all their wins. They're not talking about all the times that they absolutely fell face first, and they don't want people to know about those. I don't. That's not like fun, but that's where you truly learn and grow from, and you
what's
end up
kind of
having more and more
crazy is
success.
the people that are vulnerable enough to make content and post about those mistakes, those bad days, that's sometimes the ones that I consume the most and enjoy the most, because it's raw, it's real, it's authentic. And I'm like, damn, like,
It's
he went through
vulnerable.
that. Yes.
When you're
Yeah.
vulnerable, right? Like, you open up this whole other world of people. And so, yeah, I don't think every post you do needs to be a failure and vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like, at
Yeah.
some
Then it's
point,
just
you got to
negative.
look like you know what you're doing, right? Like, but taking an instance and turning it into the positive, learning from it and using those to go, absolutely. Like, why don't you share those too? And that's not just about social media. That's just in general. Like, it's the world we live in now, and I feel like it's unfortunate that we've got here so quick. Is that everybody wants to live in someone else's highlight reel. I'm not interested in living in your highlight reel. You guys are doing something different than me. It may not fit with me. If I know, like, I know where I'm at. I know where I'm at in life. I know where I'm at in my business cycle. I know where I'm at in my local area. I'm in a very rural, small town area where house prices are on average 250,000 now, in like the
Oh,
upper peak of the crazy,
I
you know,
want
like,
those.
I've got buddies who are in other areas who their average sales price is $1 million. When we talk, if my idea of that, of how I'm supposed to feel like I am competing, that I'm worthy, that I'm like, I don't know, like even with them for some reason, if you want to say that, that I'm, if my idea of that is trying to compete with them doing $30 million a year off of 22 sales by themselves, that's not happening here. Our team did 43 million last year with 7 agents on 175 plus transaction sides.
Mm-hmm.
That's a totally different grind with team members, admins, marketing, repetition, and volume to do roughly the same amount of volume. But to me, like, I can look at their volume and say, okay, but they have other things. They have a higher cost of living. They have a different
Mm-hmm.
way of having to go about it. They have different marketing they have to do on each one. The marketing they are doing, hiring a professional videographer, if you will, for every single listing and making this movie out of it, $2,000-3,000 at a time, let's say. That's my whole commission. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be able to do, like, so if I get this idea and I got sucked into this for years, and then I'm trying to bootstrap it, and then I'm trying to sort of DIY it, and like, and it's time consuming, and then you can't leverage it out. And all that time I spent trying to do that, I realized like I've totally sort of abandoned this core part of my business that was insanely profitable. And at the end of the day, when I look at, all right, your GCI is $1 million and mine's 400,000, 350 of mine and you made 400 of yours, we're not really that different after all because of
No.
costs and stuff, you know? So it's like, and how sustainable is that for me to try to go do that business when I don't live in their area? I don't have those types of sales prices. It's like almost irresponsible for me to use my money in those ways when I don't have the net, like I don't have the margins that they have to do that on a deal. And when you're doing 22 to 25 deals a year versus 175, you literally don't have the time either.
And what's funny is you say you don't have the margins, but in theory, their margins are the same, if not slightly better or slightly worse than yours, but they have to put in a whole production behind it, like it's Hollywood in certain markets, right? Because that's what they have to do. And if they didn't do that, they wouldn't get those 22 deals.
Correct. That's right. 100%. And so the workload for the year may not look any different. Spend 4 hours on a video, spend another 3 hours at social clubs, making sure you're out there, you know, like touching the right people who are big players in your market. That might be 7 hours of work right there. 7 hours of work for me may look totally different, but we both end up with one listing. Like, and at the end of the day, the cost, their office space probably costs more. Their gas in their area probably costs more. It costs more for them to live. It costs more for them to eat. It costs more for them to put the sign in the yard. Like, they have a $400 sign. I have a $60 sign. There's so many of those things that you just have to know yourself and your market and your area first. And then, like, I learned a lot from that. It's like, well, what if I could just increase my average sales price here? What if I could? Who do I need to be? What marketing process do I need? What actual process behind the scenes do I need? Who do I need to be around? Who do I need to be as an agent to increase my sales volume, my average sales price $100,000 over the next year or two? Who do I need to be to do that? Let me start building those systems and those things, because if I can do that with some of the same systems and the same cost of living, same market, same area, I'm going to be more profitable. And I'm more interested in being more profitable with the same amount of time or even less. And that's something I've worked really hard on over the last 5 years is, okay, I don't want to sell the $150,000 listings over and over and over again, or buy, like, I'd like to be in that 250, 300. Now my average price point is almost 400,000. It was under 200 4 years ago.
What'd you do?
I've just selectively done professional photographers on every listing in our area. That's kind of not a thing. I know it sounds so weird, but there's a lot of areas. Like, I'm probably talking more to your rural type agents that aren't in these big, huge, massive cities with all this available. We had, like, finding a professional photographer, first of all, is sort of a chore. We've had a great one for 7 years now, but that was one of the things that we like. This is not a select, this is a nice listing, it gets it. This is our standard of practice. Every one of our listings gets marketed through Facebook, through social media, through Instagram. We do a post on every one, and we put some money to boost behind it to make sure that we're leveraging sort of that social media army. So I talk to people about that. Does that mean that you're going to find your buyer with the ad and the post that you did? Not necessarily. But what you are doing is you've got this second army. You've got the MLS and all your agents and all the people out there that are working with their buyers when you take a listing. Well, you've got the second army in the social media, we call it. It's like, those are the people who are just, they see a house and they know that, hey, grandma is selling her house because she's moving to a retirement area at the beach. She's not on Facebook. She would never see our ads. So we're not marketing to grandma. We're marketing to her daughter and her granddaughter and her son and her grandson and her brother who are, and they will take that and talk to grandma about it. Or you've got somebody coming from another area searching that we have no way to know how are they coming, where are they coming from, but we hit their extended family, their friends, their coworkers, wherever they're moving in from. They're their extended search party, if you will. They're helping them look. They'll tag them in the post. Those are opportunities. That was almost free on a post with a $10, $20, $30 boost. You don't have to get crazy in our market with these boosts. We're not spending $75 to $100 a piece every time we do this. We can spend 20 and reach a lot of people because nobody's really taking advantage of it here in big ways. So, like, that's a piece of that army of leverage that we're using. Well, the more we do that, the more the nicer homes get featured and saw. The more people with nicer homes want you to market their home. The more it ends up, the more sales success that you have. Success begets success, and you start building it up. Then you start having maybe some open houses in that neighborhood, and you actually meet and talk to some people looking at those price range houses. Like, are you leveraging your best listings? Are you taking Like, do you have a marketing plan? So you won't sell in the 400,000 range. All right. Well, who's buying that? Probably somebody selling a $200,000 house, a move up. Okay, that's a domino deal. So I'm gonna, like, why wouldn't I market to the first time home seller who's got a house to sell, doesn't know anything about it? Like, why can't I reach out to them? Maybe do a guide. We're using guides and stuff like that now. Just some things we put in through like the story brand thing. That's working really well for us. There's only a few. I only built 2 of them. We have a few targeted ads designed for certain segments of the population, not just on these types of houses. Like, we've went through that, but we're sort of targeting that move up buyer. Well, what does a
Yep.
move up buyer have? Generally, a house to sell in a lower price range. So you get the lower house to sell, right? Maybe a $200,000 sale. They're going to buy a $400,000 house. Can you match them with one of your $400,000 listings? Well, that creates, if you've got a buyer for 400, you can reach out to people in your sphere of influence, in your circle, in your past clients, on your mailing list, and say, hey, I've got a buyer who needs to find a $400,000 house. Who do we have that's not on the market that might be interested in it? Like, are you doing that? Are you reaching out to those? Okay, well, they sold their 200. They're the buyer for the 400. You possibly, even if it's not the one they buy, if anybody responds, you may list a 400,000 one as well. Can you get referrals out of that? Like, you're not leveraging.
And then you're
Like,
helping
there's
them
leverage
sell
out
their
of every.
200.
You're correct. And then the 400 might be moving to a 200 because they're
Right.
out. They're in a different life cycle. They're a move down buyer. That's a great use of social media, in my opinion. That's a great use of getting the people in a mindset, in a state of being, versus just somebody who wants to look at fancy listings and with swimming pools or on the lake. Or that's a challenge in itself. So we've really stepped back to use the social media with you guys, who have helped us then build all the shit I don't want to build, which is all the
Yep.
audiences, and run the ads. Gave you some leeway or some ideas, and you took it and you ran with it, and you're doing that. And we revise them, and we sort of talk about them, and that's what we need. And I'm not spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month doing it. I spend $500 to $700 a month
Yep.
combined in all of our social media, in the ads and the retargeting, which I think is huge. That's a big piece of social media, is retargeting. I don't necessarily want names and phone numbers. I want conversations, and I want a brand that's trusted. And that's how we're really using it, and allows us to leverage that through,
Yep.
on top of all those other things we do super well. And
Yep.
that's the point. Like, I
I
think
just
people want
talked
to
to
jump straight in.
I just talked to Michael McKinnon not too long ago. I think you said you watched
Michael's
a little bit
awesome.
of it.
Love Michael.
Dude, I love Michael, man. But he brought up something that he's like, he's talking about retargeting and how much he loves retargeting as well. And he's like, he's like, I've been investing in this for years. It's not like I started it and in 2 months I saw the benefits of it. He's like, I've been investing in this for 3 to 5 years, where I'm doing consistent remarketing with different pieces of content and just refreshing it, replenishing it, putting new things out there.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, he's like, I got my core 500 people, 500, not 5 million, my core 500 people that hit me up almost every day with a screenshot, seeing my ad, like bringing me up. Like, you're staying top of mind with the people that matter the most. And
Mm-hmm.
you do that by investing in remarketing. And it takes time and consistency to then get it to where it's like your brand's engraved in their name. Corey brought this up today to me. He's like, dude, it was so crazy. I ran to the gym last night and I saw a couple of our buddies in the gym. They're rocking Dippidi stuff. Like, they were rocking, 2 buddies. One was rocking a Dippidi shirt, one's rocking a Dippidi hat. And he's like, it was so weird to see it on other people. And like, it wasn't like they were around us and they were like wearing it because they came to our
Mm-hmm.
event or anything like that. They're wearing it because we're staying top of mind in our community. And we're doing that through
I love that.
remarketing and through networking, right? Like, it naturally does that. It creates fans, it creates people who support you, and like, you're grateful for that. But it's purposeful. It's not like it was just naturally happen. I mean, we're naturally in our communities and we're naturally hanging out with people and being humans, but then we have this on the back end that's out there shouting our brand from the top of the mountain at all times while we're sleeping. You want passive income? This is passive advertising. Like, it's just
Correct.
happening.
But
Yeah.
it's not missing the core people who already know, like, and trust you, and will refer you, and will use you again and again and again. And that's the problem I have. That's why it's like controversial to me when we talk about, as you say that word. I don't know if it's controversial. It's just stupid. People miss the opportunities all around them. They're tripping over dollars to pick up pennies and dimes that are hard work to get. And I feel like it's the layer that should be added a little layer or at strategic times to supplement your business, to amplify it, not to be the core of it. So like I was talking with Brad the other day on our team, and it's like, I feel like, so like think of it like an investment strategy. You have a core like group of stocks or investments that are really sustainable. They're not big growth. They're not super volatile. They're your index funds, your mutual funds, whatever, like Vanguard type stuff, maybe Duke Energy in our area. Like you've got some of those they're shooting off a little dividend. They're just solid. They're a hedge against markets either way. Well, what this part that we're talking about, the stuff that you guys do, some of these other this is more like day trading. You need to get in and get out in certain situations. But if you haven't been watching and paying attention and building the ability to have a war chest to go day trade with, so that when you see that now Facebook leads are working excellent, jump in, day trade those, get in some good ones, ride them up. And when you see them start to tail off, get the heck out of there. Then dump them into Google ads if that works. We've seen that flip flop through the years, right? Like Google's like the best thing ever from 09 to 15. Then Facebook comes in and you've got a lot of leads and stuff. And then it's like, oh crap, Google actually works again. If you're not kind of in and out of these, that's almost like that's your day trading piece of your platform or your
That's why
portfolio.
To me, I believe in that multi-channel. Like us at Dippidi, what we're investing our money in is everything. Like we're doing blogging. We got podcasting, we got YouTube, we're running YouTube ads, we're dropping YouTube videos, we're doing Facebook advertising, we're doing Google PPC, like we're doing everything. We're creating a multi-channel approach, and that's what I personally believe in and think it's possible to do on smaller budgets in your local market. And if you can do that and make that possible, where you're driving traffic from Google, remarketing on Facebook, getting new eyeballs to your brand on Facebook, like getting, if you can get into YouTube and video consistently, like that entire wheel helps you keep your brand just out there. Now, it's not attainable for everybody based off of their current business model and day to day. Like, do they have a team? Is it just a solo agent? Like, there's definitely certain people that fit into being able to actually execute a multi-channel advertising approach. But man, when you do, you're everywhere. You're literally
you're
everywhere.
doing a totally different business too. Like, you better ask yourself before you go into this. One, do you want to manage that type of business? Me as a team leader, I don't want to manage a business based off making tons and tons and tons of calls. Like we were sort of chatting back and forth in another post you guys put out about like 14 calls is the magic number.
Yeah.
Oh my God, shoot me now. I don't want to make 14 calls. I don't want to make 4 calls. I want to track business and do it with the other people. And so like just answering that question for myself, I don't want to put too much time or energy or money into this because I don't need 100 leads that need to be called 14 times. That's a lot of calls, and that is not the way I want to spend my days.
So your objective is to focus on branding,
retargeting, remarketing, branding,
value
building
content,
that trust. But there's just something about seeing you over and over. We don't post, our post. I don't even have y'all run the post. I end up doing most of them myself. You guys run all my retargeting, my remarketing ads, but we do new listings.
Yep.
When that listing sells, we post a picture of the listing itself that sold with the agent. We take a picture of the client at closing if they'll allow us to, which a lot do, and we use that as a happy sold client post. And we get their testimonial. And if we could get their testimonial, that's gold too. So there's 4 posts basically that just over and over. It's boring. But I have 4 Canvas set up. I have 4 actual notes in my Evernote that are written the same way every time. I plug in the client's name, the different agent. It's there. It's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. But that was a system to be built. I'm not coming up with something new and clever on every post. And I'm not doing all this crazy excess stuff. Because for us, that drives home the message that one, they take and they sell listings. They have super happy clients who are willing to refer and recommend them. What more do I need if I can just rinse that through enough times? People start to understand that epic. Not just Charles, not just Brad, not just whatever, Chrissy, Courtney, Blue, Steele, Drew. They like all of our agents. They get it. They have their recognition too. General brand in our area is strong because people see that's leveraged. That's just leveraged through the consistent posts that we do. But it's on top of us actually being in the community, seeing people at the gym, seeing people at church, seeing people at the soccer games we coach. When your kid's in a gymnastics competition, whether you're volunteering at some sort of league or whatever. I mean, like, there's so many ways to meet and see people. When you see them, you don't have to talk to them about real estate. They know because they see that you guys are, that we're so active that we have clients that they know that client working with us, writing a review for us, and seeing their home sold was worth more than anything I could have possibly told them if I had reached out and called them and said, hey, are you thinking about selling your house? Or it doesn't matter. They were already had a trust factor built. They knew us from our remarketing and through our name, through the community. They generally liked us, I guess, because if they're talking to us, whatever. I think we're fun people. But and then they trust us because their friends trusted us, their family trusted us. They trusted the fact that they see it consistently. It's not just one little run of, for 1 month back in 2 years ago, they hammered down on this $4,000 a month marketing plan. And like I knew them then, I know they see it consistently over and over and over again. And that's our strategy, but it's very different than some of your other strategies because that's the type of business we're running at this point.
Yep. Which makes me think, all right, so let's talk about those. Real quick, fire them off for me. There's 4 pieces of content that you're creating that you kind of rinse and repeat. This is your boring diet, so that way you can be lean. It's new listing.
That's how I eat too, by the way.
Yeah, you have
7
to.
things.
Bake the chicken, put the beans in the pot, make some rice, and call it a day.
Man,
right?
what an awesome comparison. But yes, like if you had to come up with a new 4 or 5 course meal every single day, what kind of challenge is that? How many times you have to go to the store to keep stuff fresh? How much stuff do you waste that goes bad in the refrigerator because you used it one time, it doesn't go in the same dish for another 2 weeks? Versus like, I eat the same steak, salmon, white rice, maybe some chicken, tons of fruit, but I get it in a big mixed bowl because I don't want to cut it. Like just liver. Like there's a few things that I'm going to eat: 7, yogurt, peanut butter. Like that's it. That's what I'm going to eat over and over again. And then occasionally I'll mix in sushi at the store when I go and I want to get some, or a frozen pizza, like just because that's what I wanted at that point. But I don't have all of these things to maintain and manage and like to keep fresh in my refrigerator, to plan out what I want, what goes with what. No, I just eat the same. I've simplified it. It's almost like wearing the same clothes every day. It frees your mind up to do. That's business.
I've had this damn shirt for 6 years, dude. I've had this damn shirt. I've worn it for yeah, yes, dude. I swear.
Different colors, but they're the same one over and over. Like, yes, I totally get it. And that's a great comparison of figure out the kind of life you want, figure out the kind of business you're comfortable with, figure out what will and can work and be sustainable in your market, and then find 4, 5, 6 things that you just focus on, that you make the same t-shirt with multiple colors, that you make the same foods that you eat, that you make the same workout you do. It doesn't matter. Like push-ups are boring, but push-ups, squats, and pull-ups will get you fit. They're boring as crap. It's way more fun to do all this crazy stuff in the gym and watch all these people on there. But if you would just, the time you spent doing all this other stuff, if you're just stuck with push-ups, squats, and pull-ups, like you'd be a fit son of a gun and like it'd be easy. That's business. Figure out your 4 or 5. So our 4 or 5 that you asked me, our 4 particular posts are new listings. That is the bread and butter. We list a ton of properties on our team. That drives every other thing. If we stopped listing properties, a lot of this other stuff wouldn't work for us. But we are focused. We built the listing side first. We got really good at it. We have a rock star listing coordinator who, if she quit, I'd have to do something different. I'm not going to lie. Like, it'd be hard to replace. So don't be wrong. Like, all my eggs are in that basket at this point. But it's big. But we doubled and tripled down on the listing side because I knew you've heard it. List to last, right? Like, but list to last and then leverage it. Leverage it. So there's 5 things. I have a note sitting right here of the 5 things I wrote down. and I'll get through them. But the listings one, with each listing, so that was one on the 4 posts. But out of that one, there's 5 things. One, sell the listing. This came from Lars Hedenborg. I didn't make this up. This was the sell your sellers a house. Get a referral from the seller during the time you're actually working with them because they like you right then. You're doing them a good job. Get a buyer from your listing marketing and get a listing in the same area as the other listing. Five pieces of leverage right there off of the first post we do. Well, the post helps us get a buyer off of that marketing, which was number 4. And generally, a lot of times helps us get another listing in the same area. You know what else would do that? A friggin' open house. Free time. You don't have to spend money on food and drinks and all this crazy marketing. Print out some flyers or nothing else. Like just walk around the neighborhood and invite a few people, post it in the MLS and host the open house. You probably get a buyer, doesn't have an agent show up. Hot market. People are going back to open houses a lot now. You also probably get a nosy seller in the neighborhood who's been thinking about selling and wants to see just how nice the Joneses house is that you just listed for them. And you get to talking to them and you're actually good at what you do. You're likable. You have a good conversation with them. You're not a pushy salesperson. You just actually ask good questions and you're engaged and give them time and make them feel important. You probably just got 2 out of the 5 I told you. Probably still going to sell the listing. There's 3. You're probably, if your seller's not moving completely out of the area or have something else they're already moving into or what an investment home, you got 4. And why can't you ask them for a referral at some point during the thing? It's like, hey, look, your listing's on the market. I know you're telling people about it because you want them to help sell your house. I know you're talking to people about what you're buying or what you're selling there. Like, who else are you actually talking to that I need to talk to? Like, I know people
And
are going to
that's
talk to
your
you. Just
one
keep it in mind.
post. That's your one
One
post in
of
an open
4.
house. Yep.
One post. So you can do it any way you want, but we like to use the post and then the remarketing and retargeting to get 4 and 5, which are get a buyer from your marketing, right? You could get that from your yard sign calls too. I didn't even talk about yard sign calls. Yard sign calls, buyers ride by and call us. We use Follow Up Boss. We have an inbox. We have a specific number that goes on our sign. That number is tracked to a actual inbox in Follow Up Boss that we know when that when that call comes in, it rings our phone as a yard sign call. So we know that that's somebody who is looking at the sign because that number is nowhere else. And that number we get so many missed calls, so many voicemails that we can then just go back through and cycle through. Here's the problem. Not enough of our agents actually stay on top of that and work those enough. So why do I need to spend $4,000 a month on Zillow and Homeline and whatever, I don't even know. I don't even know where you buy leads anymore, to be honest with you. Where do I spend $4,000 on that when we have 6 voicemails in inbox that didn't get answered within 30 minutes over the last week? Yep. Those were opportunities. Even if they have agents, the agents probably aren't taking care of them. They probably haven't signed anything with them. So there's still an opportunity for you to showcase just how good you are and how much time and attention you'll give somebody to work them through your own process of, hey, did your agent do a consultation with you? Did they sit down and explain the process? Because the worst thing you can do is sit there and explain a due diligence deposit and a process when you're making an offer on a multiple offer situation. You've got an hour to get it in. You should have done that beforehand. Did your agent do that for you? You want to be trying to learn about this while you're in the midst of making an emotional decision? Bad idea. How can you have that conversation up front, right? Okay, did your agent set you up on a search to make sure that you're getting listings immediately? Not looking for them on Zillow, not looking for them on Realtor, not looking for them on our site. Did they get them emailed and text to you? Because there's a feature that says as soon as it hits, it gets emailed and text to you. Do they list properties? Do they have the ability to match you with the property that their team or their listing, that their seller's totally happy? I don't want to go through 75 showings in the first 3 days. I don't want to have to deal with getting out of my house all those times. If you've got somebody that'll pay my price right now, bring them and I will sell it to them as an office exclusive. Great. Did you even talk to your buyers about that? Do you have a list of those buyers? You keep a hot and warm list of buyers? Do you do that? Follow Up Boss does that for us. We just created a deal list. Here's a takeaway for some agents. A deal in Follow Up Boss. Most people think of a deal as under contract or an active listing or pending. Create a hot and a warm. Every time you talk to somebody, create the deal in your mind. Put down such and such, Austin has a house. He mentioned to me at the gym the other day that they've been looking at the market and doing that. He may not even know he's buying yet. I put him on my warm list. Austin talked to me at the gym the other day and said, no, hey, within 2 months, we're going to be selling our house because we're going to be building a house, whatever. He goes on my hot list. And I put you down as your name in Follow Up Boss. I put your address down. I pinpoint in my brain a number that I think your house might sell for based on just generally looking at it. You and I haven't even done a CMA. We haven't had a thorough conversation.
He
But I
also has
can't
no
forget
idea
you
that
then.
you. Yeah, I also have no idea that you put me in your system as hot either. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea that you did that. You did that for yourself to remind
And you're
yourself.
not getting dripped on. Right. That's right. I create that list. I look at that list every day, multiple times a day. So then when I'm sitting in I mean, it's a tangent a little bit, but this is again taking your listings and leveraging them when we're sitting in our team meeting once a week and we're saying, hey, what are the new listings that are coming this week? Who have we talked to? What have we just done a CMA on? We do CMAs totally different. Like, I can get into that later with whatever, but like, we don't even do the CMA like most people do the CMA. We use it totally different. And so, like, when you're doing a CMA with somebody, who have you done one for that like agreed with you? Okay, tell me about the listing. Okay, oh, I've got somebody. I'm looking at my hot list on my phone app. I have prices points of buyers that Austin told me he's going to sell his house, so he went to the seller one. But he also told me he's going to be moving up because now he's making great money. He's got a successful business and he wants to be in a different area. Maybe they're settling down, got married, have a kid coming, whatever. They're going to be moving up to a $300,000 house from their 150. They're on my seller list as a 150. They're on my buyer list as a 300. So when they're talking about listings in our office meeting for 300, what am I looking at? My list that's there of hot buyers who, if I found the right place for, they'd sell their house. I'm like, there's no amount of marketing you can do out there that's going to help that. That is just you having your house in order and your foundation and your business. That's a ninja tactic, like that I talked about earlier. That's just having it front and center every day. Your reticular activating system. When I see your name every day for 3 weeks or a month or 4 months, I can't help when I talk to somebody or go to a listing, I'm like, this house will be perfect for Austin. And guess what? I'm going to talk to the seller about it. If they're like totally cool with that, I don't even want to go to the market. If you can sell this without giving me all those headaches, do it. Great. Okay. Take them, show them the house. You've got a house to sell. Do you not think I can take your house and look at the same list of 150,000? I might have 3, 4, 5 sides as domino deals out of every one while somebody else is chasing freaking Zillow calls. But nobody wants to do that. You see what I'm saying? Or you got all these Facebook leads that are just like looking at pretty house. That's a time and a place. It's a layer. It's a day trade. It's not your core. And that's where I feel like this business, like, agents are the biggest suckers in the world. I know that because I have been one for the last 10 years. I have experienced and experimented with so many things and platforms and opportunities. And they all keep circling back to the fact that get these things in order first, do these super well to the point where you're so bored that now you have the time and the war chest to day trade these other options that can add more people back into the same things you're already doing. Like, you can't forget the core of your guys' like flywheel example. Those people are it's like a washing machine. Once you get them in there, don't let them out. Keep rinsing and repeating and recycling, and they'll pop one out in the door, and then another one will come out. And then you grab that person that you've never met before and you dump them back in. You're remarketing them. You're having them at client events. Like,
hey, man,
how many people close a sale and then never talk to the client again? Like, why aren't you doing 1 or 2 events a year that cost you $1,000 or something? It's $2,000. You're going to spend 4 on Zillow and not guaranteed anything.
Chicken beans and rice, dude. Chicken beans and rice.
Have an event and print some T-shirts and just give them to people as a thank you. Buy them some beer and pizza or something. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. The fact that you even the key there is, and it's not about the event. It's the fact that you remembered them and you reached out to them because you thought enough about them to actually invite them to the event. They don't even have to come to the event for the thing. Like, you just gave yourself a reason that's not really real estate related. It's more of a, I don't ever want to lose touch with you. You were important to me. It's like, I don't like that value of that client that's already there, that's going to repeat and refer you business, is so much more valuable as the lifetime like value of a client. How many times can you sell them and buy them a house? Maybe only once. Maybe you made a $6,000 commission off them once. They sold, or they bought their final home. They told you they're retiring there and they're going to die there. Does that mean you forget them? No, because how many other friends do they have that are in the same circles that are just referrals and repeat and family and colleagues because you stayed in touch with them? So what's the point? Like,
one day,
that's where,
and there are kids one day. You don't even know. Eventually, just
correct. And that's the point, is like, that's why I say it's controversial, because people don't really want to focus on that stuff. It's not sexy. It's not at all. Now, you can make it sexy. Like, I think we have some pretty cool client events. We give away some pretty cool swag. We have fun stuff. We do cool marketing. We take time and put pride into it. Like, so it is kind of our version of sexy, if you will, but it's still the same, like boring blocking, tackling, special teams.
Chicken,
Don't
beans,
turn
and
the
rice.
ball over. Yeah,
That's the name of this
plays.
episode, dude.
Yep.
That's the name of this. Chicken, beans, and
All right,
rice.
hold on.
That's the
All
name
right,
of this.
so we got one out. I'm not going to go as in detail, but the first post was the listing
Yeah.
post when you take it, right? We went down that 5.
Yep.
Okay, so this is my squirrel brain coming back to like this, what you asked me. The second one is when the listing sells, we actually post just a picture of the house, the agent's pictures on there, a little like whatever, just highlighted like congratulations to Brad Cummings on the sale of 123 Main Street. So we took the listing of 123 Main Street. When it finally sold, we posted the listing of congratulations, Brad, another successful sale. It's not Brad posting, I just sold another house. That's my team posting it on Brad's behalf. It's humble brag from the team, as you will, but just celebrating their success. That goes noticed. Two, because that's where people see it. They see those posts, they see their neighbor's house sold, they see what it sold for, whatever. The third one is if that client let us take their picture at closing, in front of the house, at the attorney's office, whatever, little sign, you don't even have to have the sign, just whatever. If they let you take that and they're happy enough to do that, post it. Take that picture. Hey, congratulations to the Cummings. They just closed on their, brand new home here. We're so glad to have them as part of our experience. Like, I don't need to write their life story. Now, if I did, and I had a great story and I documented some of their stuff and I told a story, even more bonus points. But the fact is, if you feel overwhelmed about your writing skills and you don't know what to post or whether they let you, most people just don't do it. Stop. Like, take the picture, still post it, and celebrate their success. Their friends and family do that. They tag it, they love it, they share it. It's a memory on their timeline for the rest of their life of having a Facebook and Instagram timeline. They'll pop back up every 2, 3, 5 years as the timeline hit. Like, those are so many things and value to that. That's the third one. And the fourth one is, can you get them to write you a testimonial, a review? Have them go review on Facebook, review you on Google, review on Zillow, wherever you get your reviews, Rate My Agent, like whatever you use, Real Satisfied. There's a ton of them out there, but we hammer down on Facebook and Google. That's it. Because those are the two places where the majority of people's attentions are. Zillow, get to a certain point and leave it. If you're doing Zillow ads, it does help. But once you get there, Facebook and Google, recycle those over and over. Simple email at the end of the time. Put it in Follow Up Boss as a template. This is part of your process and systems. Have it as an action plan. Have it go out and say, hey, so, Austin, congrats on your sale. Everything's official. Just want to check in and make sure that everything was squared away. You don't need our help for anything else. And also, by the way, if you feel we've earned it, would you take a couple of minutes and just write a quick review for us on here's our Facebook link and here's our Google link. If you do both, that's phenomenal. We would love you for that. Like, this helps more than you know. Thanks, Charles. That's an automated email. Now, you want to go in and customize it yourself? Great, but you're going to forget to send it. Those are the things. That's where automation, tools, systems, processes come in. But if you forget that, you miss the fourth one. What's the chances you're getting them? Most people are like, I don't know if they'll want to take the time to ask them. They probably love you for it. It's the least they can do at this point for you, and they're almost always happy to. So there's 4. Listing sold, new listing sold, client picture, and the testimonial.
Love that.
You could do all of those 3 in one. Hey, this listing sold. Here was their picture and here's their testimonial in one post. And you could put a $50 spin behind it.
Yeah.
Great. I just like multiple touch points scattered out where I can schedule them all out on Monday or Tuesday for the whole week.
Now, do you boost all of these?
None. Hardly any. At this point, they're natural shares because we've been doing it so long. We have 30, I don't even know if I looked at 3,500, 3,400 something people who've liked our page who still see stuff. But when other people comment, like, and post, it'll tell you Austin posted and liked this picture. This person shared this picture. Hey, this such and such was just tagged. It's an attention hound in social media. It's why I hate it. It's like always they'll find ways to get it. Sometimes I post them for $10 for 2 days, $5 a day, and just run it. That's great.
Yep.
So when the listing sold and it's congrats, I also use the little, if you want to see how we do this, click here. And there's a link to our seller page on our Agent Fire website that we have you guys retargeting to. When they go there, a guide pops up. The guide that I spent hours and hours writing and refining and trying to get, that's sort of simple with some seller knowledge. Well, if you're thinking about selling and you saw your neighbor's house just closed and you clicked that link and you went to that page that was designed and written based on taking some story brand courses and just trying to like actually provide value. If you put all the foundational work in, and then you pop a guide up that they download and they come into your CRM, is anybody going to follow up with them? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if you've got time and you're wearing 72 hats and you're trying to do all these things, you got all these leads and all these calls, you get so overwhelmed, you just don't do anything. It's like paralysis by all these different options.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I think, like, if people would keep it simple, and then when you figure out what works for you, what can you leverage? Are you like, you don't list properties because you hate it, but you're a phenomenal buyer's agent. All right. Well, what could you do different? Could you maybe, when they close, could you have them invite 5 to 10 people to a housewarming party once they've moved in to show off the house? They're 5, 10 closest people that you cater, that you come and actually host for them and you put on, and they can show people the house and talk to them about it. And now you're like in their circle. Is that your thing? Then post about that. I don't care what it is. Leverage your thing, right? And if that's the case, then you'll find the ways to then have guys like you help add more of the right people into that cycle and that system that you can rinse and repeat. There's your Facebook ads, your lead people, there's your Google pay-per-click, there's your remarketing, retargeting, there's your YouTubes, your ad rolls, your whatever you want to do. You're a YouTube star, make a fantastic listing out of you got video skills out the wazoo, do it. Like, if you've got somebody on your staff that's super good at that and they love doing it, and you want to pay them $30,000, $40,000 a year to make videos all the time, and you can cut them up and do it, great. But don't be sitting there editing freaking videos, cutting them up into short clips yourself, and absolutely abandoning everybody that's already worked with you and already trusted you and already liked you. That's why I say it's controversial, because that's kind of what I see happening over and over. And then they wonder why their business goes up and down and up and down and up. It's not like, this is a totally different life than this.
Yeah,
That's the whole
people,
thing.
yeah, people don't like this. Or I'm going the wrong way too, dude. You got to go backwards.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever.
Dude,
but you get
thank
the point,
you so
right?
much,
like,
man. Thank you so much for jumping on, man. I feel like you have absolutely dropped just unbelievable knowledge right here. So I just want to thank you so much for your time, and I hope we can do another one of these. I felt like it was fiery. It was fiery, and I loved it.
I'm happy to. And like, I don't want to take it as like, oh, I hate the industry. No, I just hate seeing people do things that just don't take them where they want to go, and it doesn't get them there right. So if anything, I just hope I just hope I've opened up at least a challenge to think outside of this little box that you've been marketed to. If you don't know what you want and what you're good at and what you're going to do with it, and you don't have a plan, you will buy someone else's plan that they marketed to you. And it might work if you stick with it long enough, right? Like, but it's just one of those things, like, just think for yourself a little bit, figure out how you can like really know you truly do that, and then start adding in the right pieces with pros like you guys, because I do think you are. I think you do a phenomenal job. I love that you guys work with any platform we're on, because that's given me the flexibility to go, I don't need a $2,000 a month Boomtown or Commissions Inc. or whatever else it might be. I got a $200 a month agent fire site, and I love it. Like, I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose my follow-up boss. I don't want to go, like, you know what I mean? Like, I love that. I love that you guys fit that piece for us. And I recommend you to everybody that I think it's a good fit for.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it, man. And that was our goal, being flexible and adapting to your business as it evolves. That's, we want to be there. We want to help. We want to continue to help. So
we are doing that. And you're
you.
reaching out, like Jared reaches out to me and it's like, hey, man, here's how things are performing. And we've revised some stuff and we've looked at it again. And I'm like, hey, I don't think this is working like I wanted it to. I got a new idea. Let's test this. Let's try this.
Yep.
And like, just staying in touch. So it's like, you guys are not the equivalent of the agent who puts the sign in the yard, or takes the listing, puts the sign in the yard, puts it in MLS and prays it sells. You never hear from them again if it doesn't. Like, I think a lot, like, not that all of them do by any means, but a lot of the systems I've been on have been like, it's like this magic hype, and they don't really follow through and try to revise and redo. And I really love that you guys do that with us, because that's the kind of thinking I want to do to stay on top of my day trading analogy of, like, day trading doesn't have to be a totally different platform. It's what's working right now. What is the stock? I'm in stocks. What stock looks like it's good? What's had good news? What I'm doing? And that's a dangerous game sometimes to play, because if you just picked one and stuck with it for the next 20 years, it'd probably work out great. But at the same time, Like, if you're willing to do that thing and add it in, do that. And I love that you guys help us do that. Like, you help us stay in the right places and know that I'm not wasting my money by not knowing what I'm doing, because now I can finally afford to actually invest in you guys to help me do it versus me DIYing it myself.
Yep. I love that, man. I love it. Dude, Charles, thank you. I'm excited. I'm excited just
Thanks
for
for
the
having me on,
future
Austin.
and just all your knowledge, man. So I look forward to doing one of these again with you, man.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Have a good week.